you'll hear parrots, green parrots, squawking from time to time overhead. My understanding is that the parrots aren't native to California, or weren't originally. They migrated from Mexico, but they apparently like it here. They've made it their home. So they're considered now native to Southern California, although not originally. I guess you could say the same about me. I grew up in Montana, moved to California for college, never thought I would be here beyond graduation, yet here I am. So I am a non-native Southern Californian. Why do we try so hard to fit in? Why is it so important for us to fit in, even at the expense of our uniqueness, our unique wonderfulness, I would say? And I know that there is, social scientists say that there is a need for us to be a part of a tribe, part of a community, and that some of that is evolutionary, right? That in the early days, if you get separated from the group, there's a group, just flew away. By the way, parrots always fly in pairs. So 6 just flew away talking to each other. But the evolutionary understanding of this need to fit in, right, to be a part of something, is from the early days when you get separated from the herd, from your own herd, you became prey, right? Especially when we were just learning how to navigate this world, there were a lot of dangers that we didn't understand how to overcome, how to control, how to protect ourselves. And so our brains were on high alert all the time. And one of the things that's super important built into our humanity is the need to fit in and to be a part. That gets confusing to a lot of us, that somehow being a part of something means I have to be like everybody else. That somehow fitting in means blending in. And I'm of the opinion that that's not at all a great way to look at it. In fact, I think it's kind of detrimental. So I began to notice as I dropped my daughter off at school, this high schooler, that as she got out of the car, she went from being this really beautiful individual that I know and love, and I know what makes her special, and suddenly she blended in, like disappeared into a sea of sameness, I call it. And very similar colors and dress and eyelashes and hairstyles, kind of a walking with the same gait. And suddenly it was just, my daughter was one of the many and kind of indistinguishable from a distance. Of course, I could pick her out because I knew who she was, but you know, for someone who didn't know these individuals, they just say, they all kind of look the same. There's this social pressure that both is internal and external that we need so badly to fit in, that we will compromise our uniqueness, right? Because we don't want to be strange. We don't want to be singled out. We don't want to be isolated from the herd. Instinctually, right? There's something about that makes us vulnerable. And vulnerable feels risky, right? So we avoid that discomfort by adjusting, right? Adjusting the things that are peculiar to us and making it more like everybody else so that we quote unquote fit in. That's been called peer pressure, right? Peer pressure is a real thing. And everybody goes through that, right? I went through that too when I was in school. Now I had no problem being the outlier, but I understand that. I really understand that pressure for my daughters, and I feel it, and again, it really twinges at my heart. How do I, as a father, help them understand how important it is to be yourself? Or as I like to put on shirts in my designs, you be you. And the converse of that is, this is me, right? That's a beautiful song from The Greatest Showman, This Is Me, right? I'm not gonna hide away in the dark anymore. I am bruised, but I am strong. This is who I'm meant to be. This is me. And I want to find a way to encourage anybody and everybody who will listen to follow that genius inside of you, right? I think we all have a very unique set of gifts and talents, abilities, education, experience, perceptions, programming, all of that kind of stuff that's created and stirring and mixing inside of us We each have our very unique recipe of that. And so nature itself, when you think about that, you realize there's no way I'm designed to be identical to anybody else. Oprah Winfrey is famous for saying when people come up to her, boy, I just want to be you when I grow up. I want to be just like you. And she says, no, that's the wrong way to look at it. There was only supposed to be one Oprah. Be the best you can be, right? And I really like that. I love that sense that each of us have our own path, our own journey, our own peculiarities, things about us that are specific to us that I would say are designed into us. You know, we're all a creation, a craft, a beautiful sculpture of the grand designer, or as the Bible would say, we're jars of clay, right? But jars of clay means that there's a potter and the wheel, and he, she, they, constantly forming us, right? Shaping us. And perhaps we're a jar of clay that's always in process as we spin on this planet and allow the Master's hands to shape us into something uniquely us, something beautiful. And the other thing that comes to mind when I think of pottery is that each vase, each jar, each plate, each dish, each bowl is shaped a little differently. And that's what makes it not just unique, but valuable, because it's so true in economics that the more unique something is, the more rare it is, the more valuable it is. So that means that we as unique, beautiful individuals, we're extremely valuable because we are a one of a kind. There's no creature in the history of the universe exactly like you or me, and nor will there ever be. There can't be. It's impossible because there's too many variables that are working to create each one of us, down from the DNA level all the way to the external level, both the nurture and the nature. So there's this very real idea, this very real sense that we are designed to be something special. And yet somehow we shy away from that, right? We're afraid that special makes us weird or different or strange, peculiar, and we don't want to stand out that way, most of us. But I love this idea of weirdness, right? Now, weirdness is often used as a negative term, kind of as a put down, but the original word weird was just WYRD. It was a Norse term that meant fate or to become. Fate or to become. So it's safe to say we're all weird, right? Because we're all destined to fulfill our fate as we become who we were designed to be. And the other picture that comes to mind is this idea of the bonsai trees, where in the Japanese gardens you see that they take a big, beautiful tree and they restrict it by putting the wires around it so that it forms a miniature version of the big tree, which is very easy to prune and to care for, and you can make a little mini garden. But I gotta tell you, as much as I love the bonsai idea and I love the beautiful trees and the artwork that they make, I don't think humans are supposed to be bonsai versions of themselves. And how many times have you or I dimmed our light for fear that we're making somebody else uncomfortable, right? And this ties right into a Marianne Williamson quote, and I don't know it word for word, but basically what she says in Return to Love is that our biggest fear isn't our darkness, it's our light, right? We're afraid that if somehow we fully express the amazing power that we have, the amazing uniqueness that we are, that then we're not going to fit in. It's going to make others uncomfortable. And so we play small because we don't want to mess somebody else's insecurities, which is also our own, right? Oftentimes we think that standing out is a bad thing, right? So we try to fit in, when I think that's a deception. The best part of us, the best part of humanity, are those who stood out, right? They didn't fit in. They stood out, and at first they were shunned, right? They were mocked. Some were beaten, some were put in prison, some were actually killed for their quote-unquote eccentric ideas. Bertrand Russell's quote I love, he says that what was once considered eccentric has now become common, right? It's become the status quo. So don't be afraid of your eccentric ideas, because that's how we as a species have evolved, is that somebody was willing to push the envelope and say, status quo has gotten us to this point, our best thinking has got us to where we are, but we have to change our thinking if we're going to grow beyond where we are now. And I find it so ironic because so many people are trying so hard to be normal, but there is no normal, right? Each of us is uniquely gifted, uniquely wired. So by definition, there is no normal. And I gotta tell you, normal just doesn't seem attractive to me anymore. I don't want to get to the end of my life on this planet just saying I fit in, right? That I did what everybody else did and I didn't ruffle too many feathers. Because I think it's in the ruffling of feathers that people get out of their comfort zone. And they realize maybe there's a different way to look at things. Maybe there is something more out there. And I have this hunch, I have this sense that there's something inside of each of us that's calling out for something more. And sometimes we misinterpret that we need more stuff. We need more things. We need to go get more for us to feel fulfilled. But the truth is we discover along the way that it's not the external things that fill us up. It's understanding that we're already full, that we peel away the layers of misinformation and disinformation to discover the true value is us. Ed Mylett, who I love listening to, he said this quote, in life, we don't get what we want. We get who we are. In life, we don't get what we want. We get who we are. And that scares some people because they think, well, I'm nothing, or I have nothing, or, that their understanding, their self-worth is very low. But I think that's the layers of shame and blame and guilt and unforgiveness and the voices that have been put inside of our head that says we're not enough, right? That we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not good looking enough, we're not rich enough, whatever the enoughness might be. And so many of us suffer from this not enoughness. I was even talking on a talk recently earlier today, and they were talking about how do you overcome FOMO, F-O-M-O, fear of missing out. And as I was listening, this thought bubbled up. Well, the most important word to me in that acronym, F-O-M-O, is out. Fear of missing out, right? That somehow I think there's something out there that I need. I'm fear of missing out because it's going to somehow fulfill me or completely. But the truth is, we discover that what we really want, what we really need, is wholeness. So the fear of missing out is misplaced. And so I suggest that we rename that acronym, that we rewrite that acronym so FOMO isn't fear of missing out, it's focusing or focus on my own. Focus on my own value, my own worth, my own genius. Albert Einstein was famously quoted as saying that everybody has their own genius. Not that everybody has the same genius, everybody has their own genius. But get this, he said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will always think it's inadequate, that something's wrong with it. And boy, does that hit home. I think so many of us spend so much of our lives as built to be a fish, and we judge our value by our ability to climb a tree because someone said that's what we're supposed to do. And I would just propose that what we're supposed to be is us in our glorious uniqueness. Both our fabulousness and our flaws make us incredibly unique, right? And there's just something really powerful about that. I know it's very likely that many of you may not see the clear value in you because of your wounds, your trauma. Some people call it brokenness, which always brings to mind for me this amazing art of kintsugi. In Japan, there's kintsugi artists whose whole life is dedicated to learning this art, where when a porcelain vase or a bowl or a statue falls and breaks and shatters, that they don't sweep up the pieces and throw them in the trash, but rather they gather all the pieces, and the kintsugi artists put the pieces back together. But get this, they don't put it back together to try to make it look like it never broke. They actually weld the pieces together with precious metal like gold or silver or platinum, which creates a very stark contrast, and you can see the veins when the thing's put back together. But the Japanese believe that that's what makes it even more valuable than when it was quote unquote perfect, because no vase, no bowl, no porcelain, when it breaks, will shatter exactly the same way. So when you put it back together, now it has a one-of-a-kind pattern, which of course, like I said, the more unique something is, the more rare it is, the more valuable it is. So I was expressing this idea to my friend Pete about this metaphor for life, that we all have experienced trauma that's wounded us, that's shattered us, shattered our dreams, shattered our hearts, our hopes. And yet, if we allow the grand master, the potter, to put us back together, the great kintsugi artist, right, our creator, to piece us back together, and we don't have to hide the scars. We don't have to pretend like it never happened. And in fact, the scars make us more beautiful and more valuable. And my friend Pete, I was telling him this, and his wife Nicole, and she says, yeah, get this, we're all in process, right? So we haven't been pieced all back together. That's part of the process. Our journey of life is being put back together after the trauma that we've experienced. And she said, so imagine a vase that's still got some pieces missing, but inside the vase is a light. So how does the light shine out for others to see? It shines out through the holes, right? It shines out through the holes. So even the pieces that are still missing, that are being repaired, that are being put back in their place, allows for me to shine out the beauty that's within me. So it's not fear of missing out. Again, it's nothing out there that makes me beautiful or valuable, but what's inside of me that shines through. And as it's been said, that humans connect most profoundly at their points of weakness. And I just think that's so important, that as we look back at our past and we see the drama and the trauma and the shame and the blame, realize that is part of our unique, beautiful, exquisite story, right? That the veins that are the points of brokenness have been welded together in such a way that now they show, but they show what? They show how far we've come, what we've overcome, how powerful we are, how amazing we are. That every story has a wound, has a scar, but the scar actually now becomes a badge of honor, a trophy, right? An award that I made it through that. It didn't destroy me. It actually made me stronger, as the song says. So I just want to propose to you to consider the possibility that you weren't made to be like anybody else. There's no extra people on the planet, right? So you matter. And if you're feeling like you're not enough, you're unworthy, that you're too damaged, too broken, too whatever to be valuable, just remember the vase, the kintsugi artist, and allow your loving creator who made you in the first place and made you perfect to put you back together when the pieces are on the ground. And even in the process, allow the light that's within you, not without, to shine out and show others your beauty.